world of digital information to a world of imagination and a time of leisure, which I'm sure we all understand can bring about a revolutionary change in the way we do art, especially very, very important because the individual endeavors of this entire fraternity enable us, has contributed and enables us to build and look at our 5,000 plus years old civilizational culture and heritage. I'm very, very happy to take a minute to also explain to you the philosophy behind conceiving, curating this event. This is our very, very humble and first initiative of curating our very own country's art, architecture and design Biennale. We've been participating in Biennales outside, but this is our way of doing a more expansive global outreach, also reaching out to our art community in a more egalitarian manner. What we have done is a three-dimensional look at how we do art and culture in the country, which is in terms of the timelines. When we do this Biennale, we are looking at what was ancient India, what is the contemporary India, because we also need to collect the art and architecture of this period so that when the progeny looks back at this time in history, we would have collected what will become then India's rich civilizational culture and heritage. We are also at the cusp of a very Jonas-looking kind of a time where we look at the past to be able to better understand our future. And the future is very tech-driven, driven by artificial intelligence and the age of digital technologies. The other way that we are planning to expand the contours of our art and culture is by looking at the spatial dimension. So if you look at how we have enlarged and widened the concept of what culture means for us, we are not only looking at art and artists, we are also looking at the architects who have given us this built heritage of the country, reflected primarily in the earliest forms of what we know as temples. We are also looking at the concept of design. Only yesterday I was at the Iranian Cultural Center and I found that the various calligraphic scripts actually are India's earliest forms of what we know today in contemporary parlance as graphic design. The other way I also understand our outreach in our domestic community is
tell anyone, but color blue reached many other places of the world in the form of paint only about 500, 600 years ago, but Indians used it few century BC to few century early AD or CE. And that is the depth of Indian art and architecture and design forms, and design in everything, dry leaves, dipped leaves, painted leaves, mud, clay, houses, bricks, wherever you lay your eyes on, everything is creatively designed. And thus this is a moment to celebrate all the ancient art and craft along with the contemporary traditions, because Indians have inherited that heritage, and that heritage for the present time also needs to be celebrated and given space. As J.S. Mugdaji mentioned in her statement, that this is Ministry of Culture's humble initiative to begin with, that when we talk about Biennales, what better place to unveil the logo than National Gallery of Modern Art. And I sometimes smile and very proudly tell people that this gallery houses art pieces worth 300, 400 years, which is modern art for us. That's how ancient we are. And this only goes to show that when we are talking about present times, and there are artists in all genres and forms, that art also needs to be conserved, protected, and given space for recognition, because modern artists too will become ancient. So it's about India should not get lost in future, And when we talk about our history, past will become past. And thus, while we recognize the past history, the contemporary artists need to be given a similar space and recognition so that the history of the future gets recognized. And this attempt is a step towards that future. And I see many of my friends from Latin American countries. I can, hello everyone, and European and Balkan nations. So the idea is basically, and all of them, I participated in their cultural events and the exhibitions they have brought. Now this will be a place and attempt to get all of them on board. At one time, they all can get their spaces and showcase their art forms. And yesterday only I unveiled one exhibition from Peru, and I was very, very surprised and happy, of course, to understand the culture which many of us may not understand, that while Indians worship bulls in the form of Nandi, in agroeconomy and many other forms, it's a sign of course, it's a Taurian sign, so all the people who belong to the sun sign of Taurus will celebrate it. But Pokhara bulls was something which was quite a moment for me, in the sense I did not know that bulls are worshipped in Latin America. And Peru is one country which does that, and Pokhara is the place where they excavated some of the symbols and they found that. So while many will relate it to the Spanish period and early or mid 20th century, but even before that you find paintings and art pieces in Pokhara, and thus the name Pokhara bulls. And I felt that if you keep lifting the veil repeatedly, one will always find we are far more connected than we know. The other exhibition which came from our Danish friends, and that was about textiles in India. And it left such a deep impression on me that while people talk about textile trade, how Europeans overtook, etc., but very few will recognize that the Danes actually found a box which had the samples which were 400, 500-year-old in their collection. And then they tracked back that history in Coimbatore and several places in Tamil Nadu, where the same designs, same colors, and same combinations can still be found. And they got that printed. The curators dressed in those textiles and were presenting the entire design, that they recognized that all these designs were inspired from Indian designs. So very few will give that recognition, but I'm happy that our Danish friends did that. Cubans had something on metal engraving. So they used a steel plate, nickel plated, and then through the sand mining they worked on that. So I can just go back to every country because I can see these people right here. So these three things come to my mind, and I think Biennale will offer a space to all of our countries, all our friends, to showcase their art and craft and how culture connects, culture unites. And the more we know and understand each other, the better it gets. So no matter the conversations which we are around politics, but deep down we are all human beings. The heart and the head need to be in coherence